hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dojo Live this Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. My name is Kim Lantis, and it's my pleasure to be hosting today. Joining me as co-host is America Guerrero.
Hey, happy to be here.
Hey, America. We were just talking about the weird weather, how there's snow in the mountains in Mexico City. It's only 79 degrees here in the Sonoran Desert and 103 where our guest Basker Krishnan is in Pasadena. Hi, Basker.
Hello everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really do look forward to learning from you and learning about Cognivision. So before we get started, Basker, you are the founder and CEO, but we'd like to learn a bit more about you, your personal story, your passion, and sort of what's led up to Cognivision today. Please share a bit about yourself with us. Thank you.
Definitely. And first, thank you very much for having me on this show today. And I am Basker Krishnan, founder and CEO of Cognivision. A little bit of my background. I have an engineering background and 2 MBAs. One from in operations research from IIT Madras in India, and the other in finance from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. So after graduating, I went to work for McKinsey as a management consultant for a number of years, and before joining Sprint Telecommunications.
Wow.
And then I ended up running a high-tech division in San Diego focused on high-end graphic systems. So all my computer knowledge and high-tech background comes from that stint. So, Cognivision actually started as image scan way back in the 90s to address the growing digitization needs for Fortune 500 companies. Companies were scanning away all the file rooms into big systems like FileNet and Documentum and OpenText and indexing them into that. So we started there, and our customers included Wells Fargo, Visa, Northern Trust, Bank of America, Mellon Bank, Genentech, Amgen. We had only Fortune 500 customers.
And absolutely cutting edge at the time, right?
At that time, I mean, and our calling card was Six Sigma quality. We didn't make many mistakes. So Cognivision actually came out of this experience and our observations. And today it offers a next generation viewer that really solves the enterprise search problem. So that's how it all came out.
All right, that's where we're at. And I think that, I mean, you touched on what Cognivision is and the problem that you're solving. And that leads us into the topic for today's show, which is, America?
Bridging the last mile in enterprise content search. Can the next generation of viewers be a game changer in enterprise search? So please, could you share with us why is it important, this topic for today's show?
I think I should first start with talking about the last mile problem, what the problem is. Enterprise search, I have to define it a little bit. Enterprise search is quite different from Google search.
Okay.
Enterprise search is searching internal documents within a firm for information. Unlike Google, which is external, and you're searching websites. So that's a huge difference. So you're searching only internal documents and trying to find information that you're looking for, either to continue working or doing other things as part of your day-to-day work. On a personal level, I mean, we all search for information on our computers, right? On a daily basis, either in a Finder, email, attachments within them, and so on and so forth. Sometimes it takes us a long time, though we know the information is there. Isn't that true? I mean, it is quite frustrating. I mean, I know I got this document from my friend at the bank, yet I
Mhm.
can't find it. So
Even within
uh,
an organization's own drive, and I guess that's where we're getting at here with
yeah,
Cognivision.
exactly. I
But yeah,
mean, this is multiplied
you don't even have to
many
talk
times
about
over.
20 million options that come up on Google
Yeah,
search. Like
it is
it's
at
just
scale.
right
I mean,
here.
the problem is now at scale within an enterprise. So, so typically when you search, it takes 1 to 5 seconds for the results to come up. Then you spend the next 1 to 30 minutes looking for that information, opening and closing results one after another, reading through pages, and finally finding what you want. This is the most frustrating part of search. And it is actually there, as people would vouch. So it takes the longest time. It's the most frustrating part. So the post review time is the last mile in search. So in effect, how can we collapse that review time and make it much more manageable? I mean, it is like, let me give you an example. You land at an airport only to spend the next 30 minutes getting to the gate. Do you think that's acceptable?
No, but
So
it does happen.
it does happen. So this problem is somewhat similar to what people experience in enterprise search. They get there fast in 1 second and then spend the next however many minutes finding the information. Uh, Numerous studies from McKinsey, IDC, AIM, and Google have shown that on average, knowledge workers waste about 1.2 hours each day looking for information to do their work. Think about it.
Wow,
It is
that's
15% of your productive 8-hour day.
exactly.
And that's a huge productivity drain. So,
And
and
is part of that have to do with our limited are we distracted? Because is that just 1.2 hours in like actually searching for what it is that you're hoping to find? That doesn't include the rabbit hole of like, oh, haha, I remember this, or wherever you divert.
yeah, actually, it is an average. So some people don't spend as much time searching, and others, searching is part of their everyday job. So on the average, it comes out to that. But we all do search, and we need to find information. So anyone today who is working with the FileNet, SharePoint, OpenText, or repositories on systems, core systems, will agree that enterprise is still search is still a problem, and they're very frustrated. So that's
All right.
that is the problem we are trying to solve.
So that makes a lot
How
of
do
sense, the
we?
problem. And I think there's a keyword here in your tagline that you chose, the next generation of viewers. Viewer,
Right.
at least to me, is actually in this context a new term. What are viewers? I'm guessing Cognivision is one of them.
Actually, you're right. I mean, viewer is anything that displays search results. Um, though we have had significant advances in AI technology and web search engines, there has been very little advances in display technology, display methodology, so to say. So you remember the green bar, the green screens in IBM a long time ago? And then came the WYSIWYG display that Palo Alto and Xerox came up with, and Steve Jobs popularized it. Otherwise, we'll still be in the green screen era. Uh, Things have not advanced since the WYSIWYG. Literally, nobody has paid attention to that. How our brain
Yeah.
works and how we interact with documents. So the the brain is a very powerful pattern recognition engine. We literally can uh, we save information as snapshots, not as text.
Interesting.
Anything
And
that you
that's
remember,
true. Hmm.
you remember a document, you remember the first page of the document, or you can visualize what it looks like. Now, a
Yeah,
study
right.
by
A book cover is so important,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. And the same thing with documents in a firm, known documents and unknown documents. You pretty much know how it should look, what you're looking for. So a study by neuroscientists at MIT proved that the brain can recognize information from images in as little as 13 milliseconds. In other words, think about it for a minute. We can process hundreds of images in a fraction of a second.
Mm-hmm. It's insane.
So, yeah. And as they say, pictures worth 1,000 words. Don't forget the words. You just show me the picture. I'll tell you what it is. But that's the one that I want. So that's the genesis. Yeah. Let me give you a simple example. We all have looked for a particular photograph on our mobile device and found it just by scrolling through hundreds of images just to share with your friend in a fraction, in no time at all. It's exactly the same. And yet, what do? All search engines present results as text, forcing us to read as list view or what I call a modified list view that Google uses, which is basically a link and some text underneath it. So you have to read it. Yes, if that's the right one, click on it and then start reading page after page to get to the information. It's too cumbersome. Let the brain do the work. So, leveraging this concept, what we have done is we have actually recreated the paper user experience. In paper, when you pick up a file, you flip through from document to document. When you find the page, the document, the first page, okay. Then you start flipping through the pages. You're not reading. You get to the page you want to look at, and then you start reading. So to do exactly that, our patented viewer uses 3 panels. The first is all visual, first page of each document. If you select a document, you get all the pages within the document as images, thumbnails. And guess what? It could be 50, I don't care, but you'll find the page you want to look at next in no time. And then the third page shows you the full page display where you're going to read. Does it make sense?
Yes. So, to your customers, do you encourage them to use images in their documents? So, is it like maybe like a consulting element that you also provide when you offer your services? So it could be easy for them to find documents?
No, actually, all digital documents are images. Some of them are OCR and full text searchable. So a PDF file will display every page. You're just scrolling through one at a time, right? However, if you show me all the pages in one shot, I know which page I want to go to next. Make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it does make sense. And I think this comes up a lot on the show, the idea of bringing in, or replicating, the physical space around us in a digital universe. When you were mentioning that, it came to me in terms of, in my faith, I am a Christian and I utilize my Bible relatively often. And it's very common practice to maybe highlight a verse or something that, spoke to me. And so that's what I'm correlating this with. Like, I already have this knowledge of, the basic layout of the Bible as a whole, and I'll
Right.
flip to like, okay, that book is somewhere in the middle, or that book is somewhere at the end, or somewhere at the beginning. And then as soon as I kind of find that, then I'm like, the next phase that you're talking about, chapter, and then it's like, oh, that's the page, and then I'm easily able to find, the verse that I was looking for.
Bingo.
Similar
That is an analog. That is an analog world.
Yeah,
That's how the
exactly.
brain works. We are not digital.
And so you've brought this analog
digital.
nature, human nature, into the digital universe.
We need the analog digital connection in a viewer. So if you present it that way on screen in multiple panels simultaneously, it is amazing how fast you can find it enables visual search.
Interesting. And so what's the phase one of implementing something like Cognivision? I mean, we have to digitalize all of our documentation, or is there scanning involved? What does this look like to get it up and ready and going, especially in terms of scale, if we're talking about banks or, law firms, and how do we get started?
Okay. Uh, it all depends on the digital journey of that company. Some companies have already digitized all this stuff. They already have it as digital files. So all we want to do is search and be able to display in a certain fashion. Others, smaller banks, are still paper-based. You'll be amazed. And even large banks have paper in some division or other because they haven't given up. It's so easy to use. And sometimes these electronic content management systems are difficult. So they haven't made the switch. So this viewer also, it's amazing when we show this viewer to divisions that previously refused to go digital, they say, wow, this is very similar to paper. I can use it. I can switch over. And then we, of course, have to scan and make it all digital in that case, because there's still paper. But if you already have digital, it's just a matter of displaying how we display the result sets.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, pre-show, before we were, our meet and greet before we came on air, we were talking quite a bit, and you, Basker, mentioned something about how it's amazing how technology in some ways has really kind of dumbed down our brains. Going back to what you said earlier in the show of the human brain being one of the most powerful computers essentially that exists, and then technology, in some ways only being useful to a certain point. And with that came my question of, is there a point with Cognivision where a human being does need to step in and some type of quality assurance, or like how reliable, how fast is this? Is there an end point for your technology?
Good question. I mean, it is very true. Like we were talking, we don't remember too many phone numbers now because it's already in the mobile device. We have quit thinking about directions. We rely on Google. It's to the point that we forget how to get from point A to point B. It's pretty bad. So the point I'm making is computers are phenomenal. They can get us to a certain point. But then let's use the power of the human brain for the next part of the journey. That's
the last mile.
Last mile of the journey. And to answer your question, most search engines, including Google, are curated by humans. The ranking is based on people actually looking at it, depending on how many people have. It's machine learning, and then people deciding, this should come higher than that something else. In enterprise, we don't have that kind of dedicated resources to keep improving the relevance. And yet, if you show me the result set as pictures and images, I know which one I'm looking for. Oh, that looks like a balance sheet. Though you might have used multiple keywords to get to a document, but you know the pattern of the document you're looking for. That's the key. So the context is left to me to decide.
It makes a lot of sense. How does this work in terms of, this element of like shared knowledge, or in enterprises where teams are continuously growing, there's turnover. If I'm needing a document that I'm actually not familiar with because I didn't create it, I didn't write it, I've never even seen it before, but I need to find some type of information. How does Cognivision help in that type of context?
That's a good point. Let me give you an example in a law firm. Law firm has lots and lots of M&A contracts, for instance. and they have specific clauses that were used in different situations. And here you're sitting trying to figure out, given your situation, what are the kinds of writing that has happened in the past, so that I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'll just take those. Our default search engine is a keyword search engine. So by putting in multiple keywords, I pretty much can triangulate to the document. So if I remember it should have this X, Y, and Z, it filters the documents down immediately. And secondly, once I get that, I say, though I used Microsoft 10Q balance sheet or Goodwill, for instance, I'm really interested in Goodwill. So suddenly I'm saying, just show me the pages which have Goodwill. I'm just giving an example. So out of a 80-page 10Q document, only 5 pages show up which have Goodwill on it. Think about it. How cool is that? And once I get to the 5 pages, I even know which page the Google sections, the Goodwill section starts.
Mm-hmm.
Because visually I can tell because the keywords are highlighted. So
Nice.
Cognivision can literally help find the needle in the haystack.
I love it. And that keyword search that's generated, is that something that the people who are scanning the documentation needs to curate, or is there some sort of I'm not sure if the correct term is AI or the machine learning element, where when it's scanned, Cognivision can detect keywords
None of
itself?
none of the above. None of the above.
Oh, okay.
You and I know what keyword should be in the document when we are searching. I want to see Goodwill in a Microsoft 10K. So I am putting in 3 keywords, which should be there. Otherwise, I'm not interested in the document. So having put that, so we know what we expect to see in the document. You can put as many keywords as you want. And then filter it down by saying, I put all those things to get to the document, but I want only the pages which have Goodwill on it. So you know what you are looking for. You can triangulate and find the document, and you know which keyword you really are interested in this. You just use the other keywords to get to the document.
But Cognivision via images is also reading. It can find those keywords.
Oh, yes. Basically, Cognivision has a massive database with keywords, all the keywords indexed. The same thing happens with the AI search engines. They have everything OCR and indexed. And they algorithmically, they figure out what the documents should be in the search list. They do a pretty good job. They try to do a pretty good job, but leave the rest to us. Leave the rest to the human. We will figure out what we want from that. If it is presented as images, if you give me text, I'm going to spend a lot of time going through.
Uh-huh. No, and it makes a lot of sense. It's technology that's bringing a person easily to where they can do what people do best. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Leverage the power of the human brain.
I love
and
it.
pattern recognition. Yeah.
Well,
It's that
thank
simple.
you.
I mean,
It
a
makes
simple
a
concept.
lot of sense. And I think it's something that in theory isn't really going to ever change. Would you agree that even 100 years from now, 200 to 300 years from now, what's your hypothesis there?
Our innate visual capability preceded reading and text. When we were born and we were hunting and gathering, we were always looking for danger, visual, constant stimulus. So we can process images faster than reading. So please get me there, and then I'll read the 1 or 2 pages I need to read and get to the information.
All right. Makes
So
perfect
it is
sense.
not going to, humans are not going to change, in other words.
At least not in the next 300 years.
As far as I know, we have been here for thousands of years, so why should it change?
I love it. Well, thank you. We're actually here at the final few minutes of our show today. So I would like to bring it back to Cognivision and really just talk about who you are as a company. You're very visual focused, but what's the culture that you're looking to build, and who are the type of people who you like to comprise your team of? What might it be like to work with Cognivision?
Uh, our mission is to change the way search results are displayed. So it is an ignored part of the human machine interface. Nobody thinks about it because nobody has had time to think about it. Maybe I had enough time to think about it. And it's all about connecting the dots. The difficulty we saw our customers having, MIT results, and our own individual experience with paper files. So put it all together and voila, you got Cognivision. It's first and foremost a viewer and display system which can be used with any search engine. It will only improve the human experience.
Thank you. And any final words of wisdom that you would have for someone who wants to build a company, who's looking toward the future, maybe an idea of what's worked really well for you, and maybe something that you've done or tried that did not work as well as you had hoped?
Well, you have to have passion about what you're attempting to do. You need to find a real world problem that needs addressing. And once you believe that you can solve it, you have to have the passion and the persistence to keep going. And especially if it's a radical idea, there'll be plenty of naysayers. You have to ignore them and keep marching on. Because nobody has seen it. This is like if I go back in time, Steve Jobs came up with this iPhone. He didn't go around asking people what they want because every mobile phone was different. And he came up with a radically new idea. He didn't ask. He said, this is how it should be. So to a certain degree, you have to visualize that world and execute against it. And we are fortunate to have very good people, managers and others who have been with us for many, many years, highly experienced, and we understand this space. And I couldn't be here without them.
Oh, we hear that often on our show, right? It's all about the people and the team.
And the team, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Basker, your knowledge, and really what that last mile means and how Cognivision allows us to get there and to do what we do best, right, as human beings, and to rely on the visual. I wish you and your company nothing but success. Please stick around for just a minute as we go off air. But before we do, we'd like to introduce tomorrow's show, America.
Yes, tomorrow we're going to interview Gary Hatmuller. He is the CEO of Archeon Labs. Did I say it correctly? Archeon? Not Archeon.
We'll find out tomorrow.
We will find out tomorrow. And the topic is going to be about change data capture's central role in carrying out core missions. Why is CDC technology critical to modern enterprises, and how can it be leveraged to drive transformative advantages? Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and see you then.
And thank you, Kim and America, for having me.
Thank you. It's our pleasure, Basker. See you tomorrow, everyone. Goodbye for now.